I'm Ellen Stellian, the Midlife Empowerment Coach, and today I am thrilled to introduce Sandy Weiner. Sandy helps women uncover their highest potential and unleash the leader within. The CEO of Last First Date and the Woman of Value, she's an internationally known TEDx speaker, dating and relationship coach, women's empowerment coach, and author. She's also the host of two podcasts, Last First Date Radio and the Woman of Value podcast. Sandy believes a woman of value gets the respect and rewards she deserves in life and love. Sandy, welcome. I can't wait to hear how we can overcome people pleasing and learn to say no.
Thank you for having me, Ellen. And this is one of my favorite topics, as I talk about all the time, boundaries, people pleasing. So let's first talk about discovering who is a people pleaser. And there's so many of us are, and I'm a recovered people pleaser, so I'm just going to take responsibility here. But let's talk about it. So you're kind, you have a big heart, and those things are great. And people with big hearts tend to give a lot, but without boundaries. They tend to say yes when they mean no. They tend to take on pretty much every volunteer job they have ever been asked to do. And that used to be me, as I said. And if it's you, please let us know in the comments. Many people pleasers have trouble saying no or asking for what they want and need because they believe that needs are needy, but they're not. We all have needs. And when we don't meet those needs, we become out of alignment with who we truly are. Maybe you have tried to say no. Maybe you've tried to ask people for help, but they didn't reciprocate. So you surrendered in frustration and you said, I'm going to do it myself. I can't depend on other people. And then the resentment starts to build. This is really one of the people pleasing cycles. And maybe you woke up one day and realized that as a people pleaser, you had given up important parts of yourself. You became a little bitter. And when other people failed to meet your needs, you became more and more irritated. You figured they don't care enough about me to give back to me. And then you feel unvalued and undesired. So if you recognize yourself as a people pleaser, that's fantastic. That's the first step in noticing that there is a problem. And let's talk about how to become more empowered and more aligned with your values. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about why we become people pleasers. Many of us had people pleasing modeled at home. Maybe we had a mom or a dad who gave and gave and gave without boundaries. Maybe our core needs weren't met at home, so we tried to get them met by doing more. I've had clients who were ignored as children. They were left alone as young children, and their houses were chaotic, alcoholism, all kinds of things that happen in a family of origin. And this particular woman I'm thinking about, she used to go and clean her house while her parents were out to get an atta-girl kind of thing. And so we get programmed to think that if we're doing, and helping others, then we will get noticed and we will be loved. And then we really lose ourselves in that process. And I don't want you to blame yourself because we didn't have the tools to know how to give with boundaries. Love has limits, and that has been a big part of my career and my work for the last 13 years. Let's talk about how to cure the people pleaser. And the first step is really to attend to your core needs and start with eating healthy food, getting exercise. All these things are ways that we take care of ourselves before we take care of others. Often, even when we wake up in the morning, are you going to email other people? Are you making other people food before you feed yourself? Think about, are my needs being met early in the day? Are you making time for activities that make you happy? Are you getting enough sleep? These are basic core needs, and when we don't meet them, we are depleted. So make a list of all the needs that you've been neglecting and post them on your bathroom mirror or above your desk or on your computer, anywhere that they will be front and center. And remember that your needs matter. You want to remember every day, my needs matter. I have to take care of me and fill my cup before I fill everybody else's. Step 2 is to attend to one of those needs that you've neglected every week. So take baby steps towards your own self-care. Often when we're completely out of alignment, we feel so like, where do I even start? So whatever it is, catch up on your sleep, wake up in the morning and have your coffee before you help somebody. Don't attend to emails early in the morning. First, take care of yourself. Read your new book, go out with friends, do whatever it is that you've been neglecting. Step 3 is get comfortable saying no. If it doesn't feel right, you need to really tap into your own intuition and begin saying no, even if it feels hard. I like to use the 24-hour rule because we tend to have that auto yes. Somebody says, hey, do you want to volunteer for this charity event and head it up because you're so responsible and you're so amazing? Use the 24-hour rule. Let me sleep on it and I'll get back to you tomorrow. You need that pause so that you don't automatically just get into sure, and then you take back like, oh my God, how do I say no now? It's much easier to say no at the beginning than to come back to a no after you've said yes. And I want to share a really quick story on this. I got better at saying no, but I had somebody who did what I call the second yes, which was I said yes to something that I was okay with. A friend of mine had asked me to come with her to pick out a picture frame. And I'm an artist, so I was happy to help her. We got to the store, I picked out the picture frame. And when we were at the checkout lane, she said, do you mind taking this home and framing the picture for me? That was a yes that I wasn't ready to answer, but I wasn't comfortable saying no in the moment. I was so taken aback and shocked that you would ask me to do that. I was like, I think so. Sure, I'll do it. And then I came home and I was like, oh my God, I said yes, and I mean no, and now I'm pissed off. So I had to then backtrack and say to her, you know what? I said yes, and I didn't mean it. I really can't do this for you. And it created friction in the relationship, but this is a person who was a pusher, a boundary pusher. And I want to talk about that because there are a lot of people who are not happy with your no. They are what we call boundary pushers. They make their needs more important than yours. They push back and make you wrong. So whatever it is in your life, if you have somebody who doesn't accept your no, those are people you want to start thinking about avoiding at all costs, because these are not people who respect you. So those are the basic things. That 24-hour rule is going to help you so much. And then tuning into, how do you feel about their request? And I like to use the, will I feel drained or energized if I do this? That has saved my life, and it's saved many of my clients' lives. So if somebody says, can you do this for me? Or will you do this with me? Really tap into your own intuition about, how does that feel if I'm going to do it? Whether it's going to visit somebody who's sick, who you really, you like them, but you know that being there might drain you, maybe a phone call will be better than a visit. Picture yourself there. I've used this tool when I say yes to an event pre-COVID. If I got invited to a wedding and I pictured myself spending 4 to 6 hours in this location, traveling for an hour each way, do I really want to be there? It's going to drain me. I'll send a nice gift. So really, that kind of preempts your yes by tapping into, will I be drained or energized? And the last thing I want to share is boundaries. If you want people to treat you well, you need to know what that looks like for you. Maybe you're tired of people expecting you to volunteer for everything. Maybe you've tolerated people speaking unkindly to you. Get some boundaries, learn to say no, learn to walk away from people who are taking, not respecting you and sucking the life out of you. And when you go through all these steps, your self-care ritual, you're tapping into what feels good to you, using that 24-hour rule of not saying yes right away, you're going to really break that cycle of being a people pleaser. And that's all I got for now. Let's talk.
Yay. Oh, thank you so much for sharing those golden nuggets. I love them. I love what you were talking about, first of all, just the whole people pleasing thing. And I wonder if you have some thoughts about, is this a women's issue? Because I don't feel like we hear about a lot of men being people pleasers, right? I'm sure they're out there, but it just seems like it's so gender specific. What's that all about?
I think women are people pleasers more than men, but a lot of men are people pleasers too.
Really?
And yeah, I mean, I have a 29-year-old son, and he has a very close friend who is a massive people pleaser. He was raised by parents who suppressed his voice, and he has a brother who's extremely domineering and controlling. And so because of his upbringing, he was a yes man. And he's getting married, and he's got certain issues that he needs to discuss with his fiance, and he's afraid to assert himself. So I've seen it in relationships with clients who have partners who are afraid to assert themselves with their kids, to set boundaries, to make the partner a priority. That's all people pleasing, and so people pleasing with women, I think women were raised to be nice. Women were raised to be nice at all costs. And I've had Fran Hauser on the Woman of Value podcast, and she wrote a book about the art of, what's it called? I'm totally blanking on her book, but it's about being nice and firm. It's about the myth of the nice girl, I think is the name of the book.
Yeah.
And so, we're taught to be nice. And the truth is you can be nice, but with boundaries. So what nice with boundaries looks like is, I was asked many times as a business owner and a podcast host and all the things that I've done, can I pick your brain? For any of the business owners or people who have ever been asked that question, what does it feel like when somebody asks you that? Right? So in the beginning, it was flattering to me. Oh, they want to pick my brain. They like what I do. And then I realized they're looking for free coaching and a free consultation. And so if it's a close friend, that's one thing. But I remember one time this guy came up to me. He had just lost his job and he was trying entrepreneurship. And he was asking me all these questions. And I said, he wanted to take me for coffee and pick my brain. And I said, it sounds like what you're looking for is a consultation. This is my hourly rate. I'd be happy to meet with you. Does this work for you? And he was like, sure. And we met for coffee. It was a very expensive coffee, but I felt good. I didn't feel drained. And so that's how we can start setting boundaries, even like with our kids, for all the parents out there. When I started setting boundaries with my kids, like, these are times you can't disturb me. Like right now, I've got a sign on my door that says, shh, recording. Because I used to get the walk in on me child who was home and not working. And so all of these things, I love you, but you can't disturb me when I'm working. As opposed to people who let their kids come in the middle of a Zoom call and disturb them. So yeah, that was a long answer to yes, it's a woman problem, but I think it's a people problem.
Yeah, and it goes beyond. I mean, I think there's a societal expectation too for women, and obviously for some men, as to how we're supposed to show up, and that we are natural caregivers, and always taking care of everybody else. But as you say, this whole put the oxygen mask on yourself first. There's a reason for that. I mean, if we're drained, if we are sapped of energy, how can we possibly take care of other people when we are not taking care of ourselves?
Yeah. And it's, I see my son at work. We walk and talk about these things all the time. and he works in retail at an Apple store. And people come in and they're upset and they can dump all their stuff on you. And so what he's learned to do is to set boundaries, to say, here's what I can do, here's what I can't do. And this is something we all need to start doing. Like, I can do this, but I can't do that. Does that work for you? Yeah, I'm happy to see you Monday through Thursday at these hours. You know, I can't meet you on the weekend, but I can meet you within these times. What works for you?
Yeah.
We have to be clear on our yeses and nos. And that's, what I was talking about before. When we're really clear, don't go back on it. If you say something, you better mean it. Otherwise, people are going to think they can push you. And there's the boundary pushers again.
The boundaries are so important. I think a lot of us struggle with setting those boundaries. There's like something a little bit, kind of, I bet you when the first time you say to somebody no, or, well, you'll have to pay me, or whatever it is, it's probably a little scary.
Yeah. And when we see the reaction and the response from somebody, that's good information for us. We have to be so confident in the boundary that we set and when we speak up, that we're willing to walk away from people who push our boundaries and aren't happy with our boundaries. I mean, I see it in the dating world all the time. Women are afraid to say, here's my boundary around sex. Here's my boundary around monogamy.
Yeah.
If you state it in a way that's kind, by saying something like, hey, I'm really attracted to you and I don't have sex without monogamy. So, I'm not saying we have to rush into it, but this is who I am. How do you feel about that? Or I'm looking for a long-term relationship. How about you? No, I'm really not. Okay, great. Glad we had this conversation before 6 months, right? So it's important information, and we have to have courage to speak up, even when it's scary. And yes, it is scary sometimes.
Kirsty is saying, how important do you think recognition of choice is? I used to feel that I had no choice but to say yes, and then feel horribly resentful. These days, simply recognizing that it's my choice makes me feel more in control. I think that's a really good point.
That's an excellent point. And that's the yeses and nos. So like when we know we're a choice, we know we're going to tap into, how does this make me feel? Do I feel resentful that this person asked me? Do I feel that I can say no? We always have the option to say no. It's whether we're going to feel guilty about it. And that's on you. If you're going to feel guilty with your no's, figure out why you're saying no, and so this is a lot of the work that I do with clients. It's like, just own your yeses and nos.
Exactly. And Marty says, I'm listening today because it resonated. Just got divorced last year from someone where I didn't set my boundaries. Then just got dumped by someone who said I was too nice. I would call him out respectfully when he was unkind or mansplaining or teasing. Basically, set my boundaries on what I would accept and not accept. Old Marty would have been hurt. New Marty thought good riddance. That was a learning experience. So thank you so much for sharing that, Marty.
I love that, but I'm curious about the too nice comment, because it sounds like you weren't being too nice. You were saying, hey, this doesn't work for me. And you were being respectful. So to me, you were being firm and kind. And I actually have met people who were people pleasers. I dated many years ago a man who was newly divorced, and he was overdoing it. And I didn't like it. I just remember our first meeting, he was a photographer. He brought me a framed photograph that he had taken. It was like, hello, we just met for coffee. And and then I'm carrying around this giant bag, and it's also his artwork, which is so personal. And it just was uncomfortable. And then but he was such a nice guy that I went out with him again. And then he was like making me food, and then I liked the food. So he went to the store and bought me the food so I could make it at home. And I just said to him, I really like you a lot, but it's hard for me to respect you when you're giving me so much so soon without really knowing me. It makes you lose respect. And that's an important thing to remember.
That's very interesting. What a great example that is. Scarlett makes an interesting comment, which I agree with actually. I've noticed that many women wait far too long and not until their 60s and 70s do they focus on pleasing themselves with self-care. I mean, I think it is something that I've seen women, in my practice wait, like it's after the empty nest, after the middle, there's something in midlife that is freeing, right? That suddenly allows us with the kids out of the house, and we're just staring at potentially at a spouse that we are trying to get to know again or figuring out how we're going to spend the rest of our lives with, or choosing not to, where we finally decide, you know what, I'm just tired of doing for everybody else, and I am finally ready to focus on myself. So this is a big theme I seem to see for women in midlife and beyond. And I wonder if that's what you're finding as well, if there's an age dimension to that desire to whether set boundaries, say no, prioritize yourself and your needs.
Definitely see a big surge in the empty nesters and the people who are, at this stage in life where you realize, I don't want to waste time with people I don't like, with doing things I don't like anymore, saying yes when I mean no. And I also know that I have a daughter who's married, who has 3 young children, and she's young herself. And we talk about this a lot. She knows that I didn't take care of my needs well enough when I was raising her. And we talk about how she can do better, and she is doing better. She's much better than I was. She also had trouble with setting boundaries, and she had people who were texting her too much and being unkind to her. So it's like letting go of certain friendships. That's an important step, and often we don't have the courage to do that. Realizing, we're around people who are complaining all the time. I don't enjoy that anymore. Like, it might have been fun back in my 20s, but not now.
And what a gift it is for you to be able to have an honest conversation with your daughter about your experience so that she gets to, do things differently earlier, set those boundaries earlier, prioritize herself and her needs earlier. So it's not something that she's got to play catch up on later.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, I remember talking to my mom about this stuff, and she said to me once, I come from a long line of martyrs. My mother was a martyr. My grandmother was a martyr. That's why I'm a martyr. And I'm like, that's nice, Mom. I come from the same line and I changed the cycle. So we all have the opportunity to break the legacy of people pleasing, martyr, victim, all this stuff. It's all unhealthy for us. And what a great role model we can become for other people in our lives.
Yeah. And I think also you talked about tapping into your intuition. I wanted to come back to that because I find that um, there's so much you can learn when you become more aware of what you're feeling and what your body is telling you when somebody does make a request. So I love the idea of wait, you don't have to respond right away, and feel into, how does this feel for you? How does this request feel for you? Do you feel like there's a boundary violation here? Do you feel like this is too much to ask? Do you feel like this is not going to be something that's enjoyable or productive or energizing for you? So that really resonated for me as well.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, that second yes example I gave was the first yes resonated. I was happy to help her out. The second yes was like, what the F? It was just,
Right.
and I knew it in my gut, but it was in the moment. I was standing right in front of her and like, we're at the cashier. How do I say no? I
Right.
felt so awkward then. I mean, that was several years ago. Today, I think I would be like, "Ooh, let me think about that.
Right. Right.
Let me get back to you on that."
But what is it about that some people, I mean, I would never dream of, is that, and I wonder if that's the other side of the coin, that I wouldn't dream of imposing myself and my needs on others, and maybe too much actually, not asking for my needs to be met enough. It's one thing to take care of yourself, but how about also being able to voice what you need from other people, not just only, I've got to be an island and just totally take care of myself because everybody else is just too much for me or whatever. I mean, you've got to also be able to express your needs, understanding that it's the other person's choice whether they say yes or no.
That's an important piece, right? So often people pleasers have asked other people for support and haven't gotten it. So they just shut down and go, I'll do it all myself. Here's what I have to say about that. We often ask the wrong people and we ask in the wrong way. So you might be asking the right people in the wrong way. You might be asking the wrong people in the right way. What you need to do is find people who actually are there to support you and ask them, check in with them. Can I ask you for a favor? You know, and they have the option to say no. It is not a demand, it is a favor. And be okay with the no, you know, or you can get curious about the no. So I'm just curious, is this the bad time? Can you do it on a different day? Would that work better for you? I'm flexible. Now you have a conversation, you know, or is this something that you never like doing? I won't ask you again. But we shut down and we think, oh, I can't rely on anybody. Nobody's there for me. I mean, I've had so many conversations with women who just don't ask.
Yeah.
You know, oh, nobody's there for me. Did you ask?
Right. Yeah. What's the worst thing that can happen is they say no, right?
Yeah. And the best thing that could happen is you're giving someone an opportunity to support you and be there for you. And we often take away that gift by not asking. You know, we're the givers, we give everything, but somebody offers to help. You know, I've seen it especially during COVID where somebody offers to do you a favor, run to the grocery store for you. No, I got it. I got this.
Right.
No, say yes. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
People want to be helpful. I mean, this is part of connecting with other human beings, is being there for each other. So, you know, in a way, there's some distancing that happens. I think you're holding people at arm's length if you're not allowing them to do something nice for you, or asking when you do have a need. I think people are, you know, again, not the egregious request, but small favors, whatever. People appreciate being able to help others. There's a lot of you know, you feel good when you can help somebody else. So it's also, you're allowing someone, it's a gift to somebody else, not just to yourself. So it's a kind of a win-win.
Absolutely. Yes. I
And
see.
sorry,
Christy has a comment. I was just going to read her comment.
Christy wanted to know, she says, people pleasing can be a handicap in business too, can't it? In starting up a business, I find myself worrying that some people won't like the message I put out and what I say on social media, rather than focusing on the people who will like it.
Very good point. So that's really about owning your message and not trying to make everybody happy, because you can't. You know, you're not there to please everybody, because then your message is so diluted and will really appeal to no one. And so you do want to be specific. I mean, I stand out in the dating coaching world, for example, because I'm not all about the heavy makeup and the, you know, cleavage and the, you know, it's just, my message is authenticity and going deeper with them, because if we don't deal with boundaries and communication skills and all the important stuff and get strong on the inside, we don't do anything well. So whether it's business or relationships with a significant other or relationship with yourself, the more you know yourself and love yourself and stay true to yourself, the more you're going to attract in all the right things, and you'll be comfortable saying no to the wrong things.
Wow, I love it. That's so powerful. And on that note, I want to ask you to tell our viewers a little bit more about what you do, how you work with people, and I know you've got a wonderful free gift for us today too.
I do. So thank you for this opportunity. I work with people in a number of ways. So I'm both a women's empowerment coach working with women in business to help them align with their messages and be more powerful and bold and courageous in putting out the book and getting that podcast started and doing what their heart desires. And that's at thewomanofvalue.com. I also have a podcast with that business. And in the podcast, I interview women who have found their value, women who have discovered their true passions and gifts and are using them to create positive change in the world. So I love these conversations. And then the other part of me, which is also connected to women's empowerment, is the dating coaching that I do at lastfirstdate.com. And I have active Facebook communities. I have many, many ways that I reach people. I love helping people have the best relationships. So whether you're single and looking for a relationship, or you're in a relationship and looking to grow your business, or wherever you are, I have ways to reach you. My gift is in the woman of value realm, because we're here talking to a variety of women. And so it's called The Ultimate Guide to Becoming a Woman of Value. And I also wrote a book called Becoming a Woman of Value, and I'll just hold that up for a minute. I published it this year. Yeah, this was like a huge thing, giving birth to a book. And this is how to thrive in life and love. So this is a much more comprehensive look at the 3 pillars of becoming a woman of value, which is show up, stand up, speak up. Those are the ways that I help people. And so the free gift is available on my website, thewomanofvalue.com. If you go there, there's a link at the very top. You can just click on there, and it will take you through the top 10 tips of becoming a woman of value. And that includes boundary setting and all the stuff that we talked about today to help you become more empowered in your life.
Wow, love it. I'm going to be adding the links to Sandy's websites and to her gift in the comments. So please, please, please check it out. Grab that gift and check out Sandy's work. Sounds like an amazing opportunity to work with you in a number of different arenas. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Special thanks to Sandy for sharing your amazing tips and insights and experiences. Don't forget to check out the links I'll be putting in the comments. And if you enjoy these videos, please watch for more coming every week. Until then, be well and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.